Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the channel. My name is DaReal, and we are here with some NBA 2K Mobile. The brand new Amber Foundation cards drop, and if you see my sneak peek, you already have an idea of what players are in the collection. What we're going to do in today's video is we're going to break those players down, give you an idea how to build these players out when you're using them in head-to-head, and what players you can earn from grinding the other modes of the game. It's going to be a jam-packed video, but I'm telling you, there's going to be a ton of value, so time to get your notebooks. We're jumping into the lab. So we're going to start with the point guards here. So for the point guards, we got Oscar Robertson, which you already know, he's one of the best players inside this game. I've been talking about him for a very long time. He was definitely one of my favorite pink diamonds back in season 2. So Oscar Robertson overall has got a 4.5 stat average. And you're looking at his stats, I mean, they're pretty elite. The only thing that is low for him is the layups and dunks, which is a 3. And you can boost that up easy. There's a ton of shoes that can do that. You got the Shaq shoes that bring up layups and dunks easily. Whenever you have a player whose stat average is so high, you kind of can build them out to your catering. You don't really have to focus on bringing up a weakness or adding to a strength. So he's just one of those complete players. Now, Oscar Robertson, so far from what I've gathered among the community, is not obtainable through the draft board, tourneys, or head-to-head packs. But who knows, somebody might pull him. If you do, definitely let me know. The next is Isaiah Thomas. Now, Isaiah Thomas comes in at a 4.1 stat average. I personally pulled Isaiah Thomas from playing tourneys. It was the Amber point guard that I received. And if you see my no money spent series, then you know Isaiah Thomas can definitely ball out. Now, he's got a 1 in post scoring and a 2 rebounding. I personally don't think that really matters as much for the point guard role. So he's pretty elite if you ignore that, right? 5 in playmaking, 5 in agility, shoot off dribble, and mid-range. If you can boost up his 3-point shot and layups and dunks, because he does have a really good layup package. Next up is Chris Paul, coming at 3.9 stat average. CP3 is one of those players that I think their stats should be a little bit higher. Like, for one, layups and dunks being a 2 is kind of low. He can slash and penetrate to the rim with no problem. He's one of the best playmakers ever in NBA history, and actually one of the best rebounding point guards as well. So seeing a 2 kind of surprises me as well. But if you can ignore that, he's got a 5 in playmaking, and he also has a 5 in defending, which is very elite. 5 in shoot off dribble, mid-range, and 3-point shot. So you can kind of build on those categories there and make them even more elite. Or if you want to give him a layup package, bring that up and maybe bring up his agility a little bit more. I have not seen anybody pull CP3 so far. Next up is Gilbert Arenas. He comes in at 4.3 stat average, one of the top point guards as well. He's also craftable, so he can be obtained in the game. He's got a 5 in shoot off dribble, mid-range, 3-point shot, agility, and playmaking. So he's pretty solid. As far as stats that hurt him, is post scoring, which is 3, which compared to the other point guards is pretty high, and a 3 in rebounding. Now, if I were to build out Gilbert Arenas, I would boost up his defending, because right now it's sitting at a 4, and then maybe bring up his 3-point shot, because he can get buckets. And he's got a really good pull-up 3. So if you would boost that up, it would make it even more elite, to the point where it could be similar to like Trae Young. I'm not going to say Stephen Curry and Dame Lillard. Those players have an unreal range. Next, we got Baron Davis, another gem, 4.2 stat average. Baron Davis so far has not been pulled by anybody, but he has a 5 in layups and dunks, 5 in mid-range shooting, playmaking, and defending and agility. So he's one of those few players that got the 5 in defending, which makes him pretty solid. And what makes him really stand out is that 5 in layups and dunks. If you were to boost him up, I would bring up his shoot-off dribble. That way he could create more opportunities and slash to the rim, since he has such a high layups and dunk stat. Next, we got Stephon Marbury, 4.1 stat average, another really good point guard. He can be obtained in the game. He's got a 5 in shoot off dribble, mid-range, 3-point shot, playmaking, and agility. If you were to build him out, I would focus on his layups and dunks, which is sitting at a 3, and his defending, which is sitting at a 4. And we got Tyrese Halliburton also coming at a 4.1. Tyrese Halliburton is obtainable through grinding the modes in the game. He has a 5 in mid-range, 3-point shot, playmaking, and agility. I think overall he is pretty good. If you were to boost up some of his stats, I would focus on shoot off dribble, defending, and layups and dunks. And last but not least, we got Lonzo Ball. We know he's an elite defender. He is also obtainable through the modes in the game. He stands out with the 5 in agility, playmaking, 3-point shot, and defending. So if you were to boost him up, I would bring up his mid-range shooting, and I would also bring up his shoot-off dribble. That way he can create some opportunities to hit more threes. So those are the point guards. So now let's get into the shooting guards. All right, first up, we got Michael Jordan. 4.4 stat average. You know he's elite. And if you're grinding the 3v3 gauntlet right now, you're going to be in great shape because you're going to be pulling the Obsidian Michael Jordan, which is a theme card, which has a lot more higher power than his Amber version. So far, it appears that Jordan is a pack exclusive card. I haven't seen anybody pull him from any of the game modes. As far as stats, he's got a 5 in shoot off dribble, layups and dunks, mid-range, playmaking and defending. So Jordan is elite. Again, one of those players that you're just going to build him out the way you want him to be. I would build out Michael Jordan by boosting up his layups and dunks and his playmaking. I want him to slash and just dunk on everybody and being able to get an easy mid-range. Next up is Allen Iverson, 4.1 stat average. Allen Iverson is another player I have not seen anybody pull so far. He's got a 5 in shoot off dribble, agility, playmaking, defending, and mid-range shooting. So if you were to boost up AI, I would bring up his 3-point shot and I would bring up his layups and dunks. Next is Drazen Petrovic. This guy is a throwback gem. Like, he used to drop buckets on Jordan, a superstar in the making. Unfortunately, he did pass away, and he goes down as one of the best New Jersey Nets of all time, right? I know they go by Brooklyn Nets now, but back then when they were playing with like Derek Coleman, Kenny Anderson, that team was different, right? They were definitely a lot of fun to watch. And Petrovic was one of those players that used to get buckets. Like, he was a scorer for sure. And he definitely would have been elite in the current NBA game right now. He was like one of those international superstars before Luka probably was even dribbling a basketball. Now, the good news is Drazen Petrovic is obtainable in the game. I've seen people pull him from the draft board and from tourneys. So it's a massive W because this is a cool card. A lot of people have been hyped about Drazen being added to the game. So it's a W for sure. Now, as far as his stats, they're pretty decent, right? He's got a 3.8. I think what hurts him is the 1 in post scoring and a 3 in rebounding. But again, those are stats that don't matter too much for your shooting guard. If you ignore that, he's got a 5 in shoot off dribble, mid-range, 3-point shot. What you could bring up on him is his 4 in playmaking and the 4 in defending. You can boost those stats up and boost up his layups and dunks, which is right now it's sitting at a 3. Drazen's gameplay could be pretty elite. Next up is Klay Thompson, one of my favorite players in my No Money Spent series. If you've seen the last episode, you know I balled out with Klay Thompson head-to-head. His stats right now are sitting at a 4.0, which is pretty decent. He's one of those shooting guards that has a 5 in defending, so that makes him very good. 5 in 3-point shot, 5 in mid-range, and 5 in shoot-off dribble. So those are all solid stats that you want for your shooting guards. If you are going to boost up stats on Klay, I will boost up his playmaking, move across the court a lot faster, and he can get open easier, right? I would say boost up layups and dunks, but to be honest with you, Klay spends a lot of time on the perimeter, and he's so good out there. So just leave him there. Boost up his mid-range and his 3-point shot, and he's going to be dropping buckets for your squad. As of right now, I have not seen anybody pull Klay. Next up, we got Michael Redd. He's craftable, another gem in his game. He's got a 4.1 stat average, so his stats are pretty good. Like, the only thing that hurts him is the 3 in strength and the 2 in rebounding. Again, stats that don't matter for the shooting guard. So if you were to boost up anything for Michael Redd, bring up his playmaking. Right now it's at a 4. Bring up the defending. It's also at a 4. And if you could, bring up the layups and dunks, right? It's sitting at a 4 as well. And it'll make him a scorer and a slasher. Next up, we got Del Curry, sitting at a 3.5. He is obtainable in the game. He's got a 5 in shoot-off dribble, 5 in mid-range, 5 in 3-point shot, and a 4 in playmaking. The rest of the stats are pretty low. He has things that you can build up to make him usable in your team. Like, for one, his defending is a 3. You can boost that up. I would also boost up his playmaking. It's sitting at a 4. And his layups and dunks is sitting at a 3. Similar to Klay Thompson, you don't really need Del Curry to slash. If you could keep him out in the wing, he'd be more efficient for your team. So if you want to ignore the layups and dunks and just focus on defending, the shooting stats and playmaking, he's going to be pretty good. Tyrese Maxey, he comes in at 3.8 as well. He's obtainable through the game modes. He's got a 5 in shoot-off dribble, mid-range shooting, 3-point shot, playmaking, and agility. So he's pretty decent. The stats that hurt him are strength, rebounding, and post scoring. But again, those don't matter that much for that role. So if you want, bring up his layups and dunks. Right now it's sitting at a 3. And bring up his defending, which is sitting at a 4. Next up, we got the Ant-Man, who got a nice stat buff. He's sitting at a 4.2. Very good player in this game. I think he's underrated. Not enough people talk about how good he is. The only stats that are bad for him are the rebounding, which is a 3. Post scoring is a 3. You know how I feel about that for the shooting guard. So that means there's a lot of potential to build out Anthony Edwards to be a beast. He's got 5 in shoot-off dribble, layups and dunks, mid-range, and agility. So bring up his playmaking and his defending and boost up his layups and dunks, and he's going to go crazy. Next up is Jalen Green, sitting at a 3.9. This is another player who I think has potential. Him and Josh Giddey actually both have potential to be built out to be pretty decent. 5 in layups and dunks mid-range. So those are really good. I will boost up his 3-point shot because right now it's at a 4. And I will boost up his playmaking and rebound and defending, which are both at a 4. We got Josh Giddey sitting at a 3.9. He's also obtainable through the game modes. He's got a lot of 4s, so there's a lot of opportunities to build him out. But what's good is that he's a 5 in playmaking. So that's one stat you don't have to worry about. So you can bring up his mid-range, his 3-point shot, and his defending, and he'll be really good. Next up, we got the small forwards, and y'all already know LeBron James is the top player in this game. Still at a 4.8 stat average. Him and Giannis are actually the top players in the game. They both have the same stat average, but what's awesome is that LeBron James is obtainable from playing the game modes. I pulled them from tourneys. I was really excited, so that's a massive W to have the opportunity to be able to get one of these cards in the game. LeBron is just elite. He's basically got a 5 in everything except for rebounding and mid-range shooting. So you can boost that up easily, and you can boost up some of LeBron's other stats just to make him a complete beast in this game. Next, we got James Worthy, who I've been saying for a long time is a gem. You've seen me use him in a Fear the Beard Worth the Hype video. He's sitting at a 4.4 stat average. He has a 5 in defending, a 5 in post scoring, which is so good for a small forward, 5 in mid-range, layups and dunks, and agility. His only bad stat is a 3 and 3-point shot. You can boost that up easily. You can also bring up his playmaking as well, and he'll be great for your team. I would even bring up his rebounding because he's so good in the paint. He'll be able to get a lot of offensive rebounds for your team. Rick Barry is the next player, 4.3 stat average. People are excited about Rick Barry. He's craftable as well, which is pretty cool. He's got a 5 in shoot-off dribble, mid-range, agility, and playmaking. I love when a player has a 5 in playmaking because it makes it easier to upgrade the other stats that need help, which is 3-point shot. He has a 3 and 3-point shot, so you can boost that up. You can also boost up his defending, bring it up to a 5, and layups and dunks. Next is Dominique Wilkins, one of the elite small forwards, 4.6 stat average. So far, I have not seen anybody pull Dominique Wilkins. But the good news is Dominic is one of the Rim Rockers rewards right now in the events. So if you do pull him on your squad, he's going to be super good for your team. And his power is pretty similar to this Amber Foundation card, which is another W as well. Dominic is just really good. There's no bad stats that he has. But if you have to focus on something, I would bring up his post scoring and his playmaking. I don't really want Dominic to be shooting threes. He's too dominant of a low post player. He'll waste to not have him dunking on players inside the game. Next is Latrell Sprewell, card I'm excited about right as a Knicks fan. Latrell Sprewell is definitely a fan favorite, and he's obtainable through the game modes as well. His stats are kind of low, in my opinion. He's got a 3.8. The stats that hurt him are kind of really low for a small forward position, right? He's got a 2 in strength and a 2 in rebounding and a 3 in post scoring. You could ignore those stats and just have Latrell Sprewell be a pure slasher. So like if you could bring up his playmaking, it's already at a 5, but bring it up to a 6, bring up his defending, bring up his shoot off dribble, and bring up his layups and dunks, he's gonna go crazy. OG Anunoby, he's got a 3.7 stat average. He's obtainable through the game modes. As far as building him up, there's so much potential because there's a lot of stats that he has that are low. Like the playmaking being a 3, that's an easy opportunity to boost. Mid-range, 3-point shot, layups and dunks, shoot or dribble, and defending all being a 4 is even more opportunity to boost those up to a 5 or 6. Next, we got Bojan Bogdanovic. He's another player who I think is underrated. I used his winter theme card. It was balling out in head-to-head. He's obtainable through the game modes as well. To build him out, he's right now got a 5 in mid-range and 3-point shot, which are pretty good. When I used him in that head-to-head game, I built out his shoot-off dribble and his playmaking, and he was able to get buckets. And I think if you're able to bring up his layups and dunks, he's actually a surprisingly good slasher as well. Next, we got Robert Covington at a 3.6. He's obtainable through the game. He's a pretty solid defender in the game. So if you want to boost up his defending, it will make him even more elite. And he's a good 3-point shooter. He's a good shooter from the wings. So if you boost that up, or if you want to bring up his mid-range, that way he can maybe dribble and get a closer shot, you could bring that up as well. His playmaking is a 3, so that's an opportunity too. And next is Rudy Gay, probably one of the most secret gems in NBA 2K franchise. His stats are a little bit low in NBA 2K Mobile though. I mean, it makes sense. As he's progressing to the later end of his career, there's so much opportunity with Rudy Gay though. You could bring up his playmaking right now, sitting at a 3. You could bring up his defending because we know he can defend. He's a very good shot blocker, so you can boost that up as well. And if you can bring up his 3-point shot, Rudy does play the wings a lot as well, so you can bring that up too. All right, next up, we got the power forwards. Then at the top is Giannis with a 4.8 stat average. I've currently not seen anyone pull Giannis, but if you were to get Giannis on your squad, he's just too good, right? He's got 5s in everything except shoot off, dribble, and 3-point shot. So that could be your area opportunity. As far as Giannis, you could build him out to be exactly the way you want him to play. Next, we got Anthony Davis sitting at a 4.3. Anthony Davis is obtainable through the game modes. If you look at his stats, he is 5 in layups and dunks, 5 in post scoring, 5 in agility, 5 in rebounding, and a 5 in defending. Very complete player, super good at head-to-head. Like, he's a beast on the offensive glass. If you were to build out Anthony Davis, that 3 in playmaking is the biggest area of opportunity for sure. And then I think he's a pretty decent 3-point shooter from the corners. So if you can bring that up to a 5, he'll make them at a more consistent rate. Next is Amari Stoudemire, one of my favorite power forwards in this game. 4.3 stat average as well. You can see what stands out right away is that 2 and 3-point shot and the 3 in playmaking. I would ignore the 3-point shot. You don't want Stoudemire shooting those. You really want him to be in paint because he's a dominant post scorer and he's a dominant mid-range player as well. So if I were to bring up his stats, I would focus on his layups and dunks, mid-range shooting, his defending, and his rebounding, because I want him to get a lot of offensive putbacks. Now, Amari Stoudemire, I have not seen anybody pull so far. Aaron Gordon comes in at a 4.1 stat average. He's actually a really decent player inside this game. If I were building him out, I will boost his playmaking, which is sitting at a 3. I will boost up his defending, which is sitting at a 4, and his rebounding, which is sitting at a 4. His 3-point shot is a 4 as well, but kind of similar to Amari Stoudemire, I would prefer Aaron Gordon to be more in the post, but he could hit the 3-point shot, right? I've used him in previous seasons. He has proven to hit that shot when he's open. Aaron Gordon is obtainable through the game modes. Next up is Lauri Markkanen. He is one of the craftable players. I've used his card in my No Money Spent series, the New Year's Galaxy Opal. He is a bucket getter for sure. He's got a 5 and 3-point shot and a 5 in mid-range, but man, I feel like that stat, I feel like his shot is much better than that. I would boost up his playmaking and I would boost up his defending. I'm gonna tell you why. He is a really good shot blocker. Surprisingly, with a 3 in defending, he was blocking shots in head-to-head. So if you bring that up, he'll go even crazier. Next is PJ Washington, who's got a 3.8 stat average. He's obtainable through the game. He's pretty much got a lot of 4s. So if I were to build him out, I would boost up his playmaking, which is at a 3, and his defending, which is at a 3. It's Chris Boucher. Honestly, he has one of the lowest stat averages. He's got a 3.2, but that 1 in playmaking, you can't ignore. That's just too low. So that's an area opportunity there that you can boost up easily. I would also boost up his rebounding, and I would bring up his defending. Send out a 3 for a power forward. You want that to be higher. Now, what he does have working for him is that 4 in post scoring. So if you could bring that up too, along with layups and dunks, he could be pretty good for your team. Next is Herbert Jones, one of the players I pulled from tourneys as well, so he's obtainable through the game. He's got a 3.8 stat average. He has a 5 in defending. That's solid. He's got a 4 in playmaking, so you can bring that up a little bit. As far as his shooting stats, 4 in mid-range, layups and dunks, 3-point shot, and post scoring, that's all pretty good. I would bring up his rebounding. I will focus on bringing up his playmaking and his rebounding, and maybe bring up the mid-range and layups and dunks. And then last but not least, for the power forward, we got Dario Saric, another hidden gem in the game. He's got real good stats. Like if you see it, it's a 4 across the board, except for defending. So that's a stat you can boost up: defending, playmaking, and maybe bring up his mid-range and 3-point shot. All right, so for the centers, the craftable player is Shaquille O'Neal, which is a massive W. He's one of those elite centers that you want on your team. You just can't rely on him to shoot any jump shots, right? We speak about Shaq a lot in these type of videos, but if you ignore that, Shaq is a monster. right? He's got a 5 in layups and dunks, strength, rebounding, defending, and post scoring. Elite stats for your center. What I would boost on Shaq is his playmaking, so he could be a little bit faster. I would bring up his defending, so he could be a monster shot blocker, and his layups and dunks, so he could get those monster putbacks as well. Next is Joel B, who is the set reward. If you craft all the craftable Amber players, you will get Joel B as a set reward. One of the best centers inside this game, 4.4 stat average. He's just as elite as Shaq in the paint. What makes Joel B even better is the fact that he got a 5 in mid-range shooting, so he can hit jump shots. He's got a 4 and 3-point shot. He can hit that as well. So if you were to boost up something on Joel, it will be his playmaking, which is a 3. And I will boost up his defending. Next is Dwight Howard. He's obtainable through the game. He's also in the Rim Rockers theme. His Jade card is pretty solid to use. So you already know about Dwight Howard. When building up Dwight Howard, he's got really solid stats for the center position. So just boost up his playmaking and build on those elite stats that he has. So boost up layups and dunks, boost up post scoring, boost up defending, boost up rebound. Yao Ming, Mr. Head-to-Head Cheese, one of the best players for head-to-head. He's 3.7 stat average. He's not, so far I haven't seen anybody pull Yao Ming. He's got a 5 in mid-range shooting, 5 in post scoring, 5 in strength, rebounding. So if you were to boost him up, bring up his playmaking and bring up his defending and layups and dunks. Next is Rudy Gobert. I have also not seen anybody pull Rudy Gobert so far. He's also a player that a lot of people like to use for head-to-head because of his defense. So if you were to build him out, bring up his layups and dunks, his rebounding, and his defending and the playmaking. Next is Nikola Vucevic. He is obtainable through the game. Vucevic is pretty decent. What makes him stand out is that 5 in mid-range and 4 and 3-point shot and a 5 in post scoring. So if I were to build him out, bring up his playmaking and his defending. Next is Yusuf Nurkic. He was a center that I pulled from Amber Tourneys. He's actually pretty decent. I like him as a center. When I build him out, I normally bring up his playmaking and I bring up his mid-range, and he hits it at a pretty reliable rate. And I would also bring up defending and layups and dunks. Steven Adams is another player I've changed my mind on completely. He's been a gem inside my No Money Spent series. I've had him on 2 separate occasions. We had his Halloween card using the Topaz version right now. He's obtainable through game modes. If I were to build out Steven Adams, I would bring up his playmaking, his defending, rebounding, and layups and dunks. That's his sweet spot. Very reliable. Again, a really good underrated center. And last but not least, we got Robert Williams coming at a 3.5. He's got a 5 in defending, rebounding, strength already. He's got opportunity to build out some of the lower stats, which is playmaking, layups and dunks, and post scoring. If you want to make him a mid-range shooter, you can boost that up as well. So as promised, that was a jam-packed video, man, but I wanted to give you guys all this information since the Amber Foundation cards just dropped. Obviously, it takes time to make these videos, so that's why I wasn't able to drop it on Thursday when these cards came out. But it also gave me time to do research and find out which players were obtainable through the game modes and give you an idea how to build out these players so that you can use them across all the modes inside the game, especially head-to-head. So as always, I hope y'all enjoyed this content. If you do, then definitely slap that like button, share with everybody in the NBA 2K mobile community, because again, these videos require a lot of work, but I enjoy making them for y'all, and I know y'all appreciate it too, so that's why I keep doing it. So as always, I will catch everyone on the next video. Peace out.